I hope everyone's been sleeping well recently. The time has come to talk about nights into dreams, colloquially known as nights. Nights for the Sega Saturn was absolutely brilliant. I enjoyed it so much. I played it over and over and over again, and each level was supposed to be a dream. The game follows two teenagers, Elliot and Clarice, who are sent to a world of dreams where they get aided by a being called Nights. The humans either go into one world, Nightopia, or they go into another world which is called Nightmare. Wise Man the Wicked is the god and creator of Nightmare, and the inhabitants, which are known as Nightmarans. Nightmarans are supposed to steal energy from humans while they're asleep, and that energy is called idea. The game had this amazing kind of fluidity to it as you kind of flew through these worlds, these dream worlds. As when the teenagers kind of fell asleep, they kind of fused into this genderless character called Nights. Nights is supposed to be genderless because she, they are supposed to represent a being that is accessible and alive in every human's mind. So therefore, male or female. So it was a 1996 action game published by Sega for the Sega Saturn. It's actually developed by Sega veterans Naoto Ushima, Yuki Naka, and Takashi Iizuka. Fun fact, during the development of Sonic the Hedgehog, these developers were on the Sonic team as well, to obviously create the game Sonic the Hedgehog. And a fun fact actually, while Sonic the Hedgehog was being developed, Yuki had to constantly travel between Japan and America because the game was being developed by the Sonic team in Japan, but also in the San Francisco Technical Institute. So all of that traveling around actually gave Yuki Naka the idea to create a game based on flight. So yeah, that's why there's so much flight in Nights, and that is really the main thrust of the game. You're kind of a character flying through your dreams. So it sounds like they actually got really, really deep in the concept when they were conceptualizing the game. So yeah, obviously the game's all about sleep and the dream world. And Carl Jung's archetypes were actually a massive inspiration for the game. The team actually conducted a lot of research on the theories and the works of the psychoanalysts Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud. Also kind of fed into the whole conceptualization of the game. So according to the developer Yuki Naka, Nights, the character, is supposed to represent Carl Jung's shadow archetype. Clarice and Elliot represent the animus and the anima. So shadow is a concept developed by Carl Jung, which refers to the repressed parts of the unconscious mind. So Jung believed the shadow is basically the opposite of the self that you present to others, which is known as the persona. So you got shadow and you got persona. And in the game, I guess you have Clarice and Elliot, who are your personae, and you have Nights, who is the shadow. What is the shadow? Well, the shadow is supposed to contain things that people fear, despise, or feel ashamed of. It can include negative impulses like anger and resentment, but also positive impulses like creativity. And the shadow can manifest itself in dreams and visions, often, apparently, in a person who is the same sex as the dreamer. That last bit's actually quite interesting in the context of the game, because Nights, the character that the two personae, Elliot and Clarice, kind of fuse into when they go to sleep, is supposed to be genderless. So actually, no, not strange, but very apt, because you can play either character. Yeah, basically a genderless character that reflects both of their shadow. One thing I thought was interesting was the fact that they chose purple for the design of Nights, the character, the genderless character. In mysticism, in culture, the color purple is supposed to represent transition. And if you actually watch my video on the color purple, I go into it a little bit there. So it could be that they selected the color purple for that very reason. Going back to Carl Jung's philosophy behind the game, there was actually a deleted boss called Self, which was supposed to represent Carl Jung's self archetype. And the self archetype is kind of to do with the unity, integration of your total personality. Kind of moving a bit further into that concept, self-realization is supposed to be a person's movement through all the different aspects of personality components, namely ego, shadow, persona, and animus and anima. So the animus is the unconscious masculine side of a woman, and the anima is the unconscious the unconscious or feminine side of a man. So Clarice and Elliot, respectively, are supposed to represent these two. I'm not sure why the self boss was dropped. It could be that the game was getting a little bit too existential and the Sonic team just thought, we've gone too far. Time to stop the boat. The developers even looked into REM sleep, and REM sleep is basically when we dream. It's where most dreams occur, and during REM sleep, your muscles paralyze, your blood pressure goes up, your eyes flicker, rapidly move behind your eyelids, and REM sleep is important for memory and learning, mood regulation, brain development, and protection against dementia. So yeah, really important to get really good quality sleep. Improve your sleep, or don't, at your peril. Yeah, dreams has this amazing kind of floaty feeling where you're floating or flying through these hoops, and just something about the control of the avatar in it, but also the way that it would kind of boost and fly through the hoops. There'd be these little sound bites, they'd yell, which is apparently in the language that was actually created for dreams, but I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, it was a really satisfying game to play, zooming through these hoops and collecting kind of different bits and pieces. Fun fact, Steven Spielberg, the director of E.T., Jaws and Jurassic Park, was actually one of the first people to play the game. He visited the Sega studio during the development of Knights. And coincidentally or not, the male character in Knights is called Elliot, a bit like Elliot in E.T. Either it was just a very popular name at the time, or, maybe Steve had a bit of a say. Who knows? If anyone can verify that, let me know. Yeah, as I mentioned, the development team actually invented a language for Knights. They called it Dream Language, and it's actually spoken by Night Dimension residents. Before battle, for example, a character Rayala will say "Bia Dikinoa Knights," which apparently means "come on, Knights." But lots of people believe that it meant there is no such thing as knights, which is kind of edgy. And when Knights, the avatar, unfuses from Clarice and Elliot, they say Adima, which means goodbye in dream language. If there's enough information there, I might do a bit of a video on dream language, because it actually sounds quite interesting, and also maybe a little bit over the top, for such a kind of such a sort of under the radar game, really. It wasn't like it was Sonic, it was Night, and it had a whole language. So yeah, I'll definitely look into to see if there's anything more there. You can actually teach yourself to lucid dream, train yourself to lucid dream. I kind of dabbled in that with a really good YouTuber on the subject called Michael Seeley. And it's certainly, I went through a phase of kind of really being able to do that, which is great because, if you're having a nightmare, you can stop the whole nightmare from happening, and either wake yourself up or just say to your brain that you want to change the subject, which is a good skill to have. It means you won't be bothered by those pesky nightmares. Finally, to celebrate the game's 15th anniversary, Overclocked Remix, also known as OC Remix, community that make music with video game composers from all over the world, made a fan album of Nights into Dreams called Nights Lucid Dreaming. And actually the music was really good. It kind of had a very happy feel, as I recall, almost like the music you might hear in a mall when you're shopping, kind of tinny and lo-fi, but also generally kind of uplifting sort of vibe. So yeah, OC Remix made this fan album on Nights, and they gave the devs Naka and Izuka a complimentary copy of the fan album, and so they should have done. I mean, after all, they made the game. So I hope you enjoyed. Sleep well, sweet dreams. Adima!